Hello and welcome back. In our last video, we created some non-root user accounts and we saw how we could maybe navigate through some of the directory structure of Linux using the cd command. I have logged in as one of those non-root accounts, and so you can see things look a little bit different over here because I have a new account. And now I'm going to use the default terminal app, and if we look, our terminal looks a little bit different because again, I'm a different user. If we look here, I am logged in as the mic user. And so if I type in pwd here, instead of being in the root users directory, I am currently in my own directory. And so previously that was empty, I think, when we were the root user and we typed ls, but now if I look, I have all of the the directories that we expect to see for a user. So if I change to documents, it's empty because I just created this account. There shouldn't be anything in any of this. At least I hope not, right? So let's see, pwd, there we are. So let's quickly change to the root directory of the machine. So I could move back in this path by using cd ... and then that would move me to the home directory, and then I could do cd ... again, and that would move me to the root directory. Or I can just type the absolute path, and I can do cd. I want to go right to the root directory. And so now if I type pwd, there we are, and if I list everything that's in here, or I don't know, what else is in there? Any hidden files? Not .cache maybe. If I list what's in here, we can see some of these directories. Let me clear the screen. It's a little crowded, and I'll type ls. So these directories that are inside of the root directory are pretty important, and each one has maybe its own use. So let's first change directories into the bin directory. So we're going to do cd bin. The bin directory contains executable programs and commands that can be run on our system. All we have to do is type the program or command name in the terminal, and they're going to run because they're located here. So if I type ls, it looks like, wow, we've got a lot of programs that are in here. So yeah, tons. Look at that. Lists all of the different programs or commands that we could run. And so I don't have to do anything other than just type in the program name. So for instance, like date, right? If I just type date right now in my terminal, it should run that program, and it gives me it regardless of where I am. So let me change to my home directory, cd tilde. So now, right, I'm not in that directory, so the date command is no longer there, but if I still type date, that program runs. And the reason why is because, let's go back to the root directory and then bin, and the reason why is because if I list all these files, the date command is in this folder. Okay, the date command is in this folder. Where did it go? Where did it go? Can I not find it? Date, right there. Wonderful. Let's move back to our root directory. So, right, pwd, here's our path. We were in the root directory, and then we've moved into bin. So I'm just going to go up one location. And so now I'm in the root directory. Let's clear the screen, go back up to the top of my terminal. And if I type ls, we can look at some of these other directories that are here. Let's now talk about the etc directory, the etc directory. This directory contains system-wide configuration files that can either be edited or configured. So let's move into it. So I'll do cd etc. And so if we look, wow, there is a lot of stuff in here as well. Now, if I type ls tac l, we get the long listing format, right? And so we've already talked about how these colored files in blue here with the D are directory, but a lot of these other files, they're just standard text files. And so we should be able to read these text files and see what is contained in them. If you notice, here's a different color, a green file, and we'll talk about what the green file is maybe in a later video as well. So to view the contents of one of these single files, so let's actually clear the screen, and I'll do ls again. To view the content of one of these single files, we have a couple of different commands that we can use. The first one is cat. So the cat command, or concatenate, will essentially print out the file text to the terminal. So I'm going to call cat, and then I got to call a file that I want to print. And so I'll print host name. Let's do this one right here. So I'll call cat host name, and when I do that, it outputs to the terminal Cali33. And if you look, that has been our host name, or my host name all along, Cali33. For bigger files, cat's not really the best option. So like, let's see, here's a file bash.bash rc. Let's cat that to the screen. Bash.bash rc. And so if you look here, right, I got to scroll up through all of this. It's kind of annoying. It eats up a lot of my terminal. There's a better command that we can use. And so what we're going to use is a command called less. And so for bigger files, the less command is sometimes better, as it allows us to flip through a document, almost like it's a book. So I'm going to call less and then bash.bash rc. And now if we look, I've given the whole terminal takes up the window, and I can click space to flip through the pages. And so now I'm at the end of the document, and all I have to do is hit Q to quit, and I'm right back to where I was in my terminal. So cat and less will output the text of a document to our terminal screen for us. And both work perfectly fine. I guess it just depends on your preference. So now let's back out of the Etsy folder. And so if we look here, ls, let's now look at our home directory. So we've already looked at the home directory a bit, cd home. And if I list here, this is the home directory of all of our users that are not the root user. So I have one called mermo, I've got one called Mike, I've got one called Peter, I've got another one called archvsync. Let me just move into that really quick. Nothing's in here, so I'm going to back out. Okay. So these are our users directories, right? So right now, since we're the Mike user, if I go to my home directory, so cd tilde to go to home, it looks like it puts us in that directory. Let's go back to our root directory, so cd root ls. Media, let's talk about media. Media is where you're going to have any external flash drives or hard drives typically mount to your system. So if you want to use them or access some of the files that are on a flash drive, you should look in this directory. So let's do that. So I'm going to do cd media. Let's clear the screen. All right, so if we look at my root structure, I'm at the root directory and then the media. If I click ls, it looks like I have CD-ROM, CD-ROM 0, and root. Do I not have anything attached right now? Let me check. Let me see if I plug something in. All right, it looks like something just popped up here, Mike. So let's CD into Mike. And then I've got my hard drive right here, Tech Club. Can I change into that? I can. And so if you look, I've got a bunch of files here on my hard drive. I know they're difficult to see with this ugly green stuff here, but now I'm on my external hard drive. All right, so that's where it mounts, your external hard drives, your flash drives will mount to. So let me change back to my root directory, clear the screen. Let's talk about the OPT file. Here is where you can install optional programs to your system. So like software that's not installed by default to your system can be installed to the OPT folder. If I CD to this OPT, it looks like I've installed PyCharm and then something called Teeth. So there's a couple of files that were installed by me, not by default on the system. Let's go back one. Our root directory, we said that's the root users directory. So if I cd to root, I can see all of the stuff that was in there. So if I go to cd documents, right here, I can cd scripts. So there's the stuff that we had seen before that was specific to the root user. If I do ls-tech-l, oh yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so let's clear the screen and go back to our root directory. If we look at the sbin folder contains executable scripts that are going to run on your machine. So if I do cd sbin and then I list them all, we have lots of scripts here, lots of scripts. If we look, we've actually looked at some of these, right? Here is IP, here is ifconfig. So some of the scripts that we've previously run when we were trying to get information about our network appear here in this program, or in this directory. All right, let's go up one more. Let's go back to root, and let's look at the var directory. So cd var. So I'm going to clear the screen, and we'll type ls to list them all. The var directory contains variable information that essentially like changes over time, such as log files and web server files. And so I'm going to actually cd into one of these directories. Let's go to the log directory. And so here's all that good stuff. And if I try to read some of these files right now using cat, like maybe I want to read this log user.log. So let's do cat user.log. And it tells me that my permissions have been denied. It looks like I don't have permission to read this file. And so if I want more information, I'm going to do a long listing, ls-tac-l, and here is that file user. And so if you've noticed, we've talked a little bit about some of these characters that appear here. We're going to get into permissions later on, but for right now, just know that if you look right here for users, we just have tax here. The three letters that would appear here are R for read, W for write, and X for execute. Right now, and if you notice, there's three groupings of these letters. There's three here, there's three here, and there's three here. We are a user that belongs in this last group. We do not have read privileges, write privileges, or execute privileges for this file, which stinks. This first group is the owner of the file, which is root. And it looks like, is admin, and it looks like they have read and write privileges, so they can read and write to it. So let's try to maybe escalate our privileges. So in order to do this, we can always type sudo, which stands for super user do. If your account has sudo privileges or is part of the sudo group, and we're going to learn about groups later on, you can run commands as the root user by typing sudo first. So let's try this. We'll do sudo and cat. I got to see what was the name of the file. User log. So we'll do sudo cat user.log. And it tells us here, we trust that you have received the usual lecture from the local system administrator. It boils down to three things: respect privacy for others, think before you type, and with great power comes great responsibility. And so now it's asking for our password. So I'm going to type in my password. And it says here that Mike is not in the sudoers file. This incident will be reported. And that's good because I am not in that sudo group. We didn't do anything to put ourselves, this Mike user, into this special group which can execute some kind of more important commands. Let's actually switch users to our root user. So I'm going to type su to switch my user, and I'm going to type the name of the user I want to switch to, root, and then I'm going to type in my root password, and you should type in yours as well. And so now we've seen that we've effectively switched our users. And so now I should be able to cat user.log. And if I do, it's giving me lots and lots of information. I'm going to stop this because that's way too much. Let's use less. So we'll do less user.log. And so now I can flip through here this log file and get lots of information. So I'm going to quit out of here and clear the screen. If I type ls, I want to actually look at this log file now, auth.log, for authorization. So if I cat this to the screen, auth.log, it looks like it said, remember, it said that we were going to be reported in this log file right here. It looks like we had a sudo command to root by Mike, and so that had been recorded. So naughty, 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 Mike, you are not a sudo user. And so the reason why we're able to read this is because we have the right permission. So we're going to clear the screen. And I'm going to exit out of the root, and we go back to being our non-root user here, Mike. Wonderful. I think this is a great place to stop this video. To recap, let's go back to our root directory. We looked at various directories inside of our root directory that have specific purposes, and we learned how to output text files to the terminal using cat and less commands. We're going to build on these skills in the next video, and I look forward to seeing you then.